I don't know where to begin this tale. Maybe with an admission I still care for her deeply, even after everything, even after I walked away. My name is Alex, and I devoted 6 years of my existence to a lady I once believed I'd sacrifice anything for. We met back in 2015 at a casual gathering with buddies. There was no sign that she'd upend my entire world. Her name was Emma. She chuckled like someone unafraid to stand out. Her locks were the shade of golden sunlight, and her eyes, hazel blue, the kind you could lose yourself in if you let your guard down for a moment. I recall how she glanced my way when somebody spilled beer on the couch and remarked, "You're not the type to flee from mess, right?" I grinned. "I'm more the guy who cleans it up afterward." That's how our chat kicked off, with a silly line, but it stretched on. We talked through the night as everyone else headed out. She shared about her job as an interior decorator, her upbringing in a loud but affectionate household. And I opened up about struggling post-university, scraping by with freelance gigs. "The key is to keep moving forward," she noted. "Existence always offers another opportunity." It sounded like a nice sentiment at the time. Later, it turned into something prophetic. Within a few weeks, we were sharing a place. Things escalated fast, like a whirlwind pulling us in, and we both dreaded slipping out. Emma was the sort who filled the gaps in life. If I was frowning at my computer screen, she'd come over, set down a mug of tea, and gently rub my back. If things weren't clicking for me, she'd crack a joke. There was a cozy warmth in it, something I'd never experienced before. She had a knack for turning everyday nights into special occasions. "Burgers and a movie count as a date," she'd say, pulling out some beer and lighting candles, even if we were rewatching that classic Inception for the 4th time. We rented a tiny studio where you could reach the bed from the stove, but it didn't matter to us. I'd wake up beside her and think how incredibly fortunate I was. When I proposed, it wasn't impulsive, but not perfectly orchestrated either. We were at the seaside, and I just said, "I can't picture myself with anyone else. I don't want to." She stared at me, bit her lip, and tears welled up. "Goodness, did you at least get a ring?" she asked through her sobs. I had, and she said yes. We weren't wealthy. I had a position at a tech firm. She picked up freelance assignments. We saved for a house, debated vacation spots, dreamed about what lay ahead. The future felt so reliably positive that we took it for granted. Then came the moment that split everything into before and after. But for now, we were still content. In the fall of 2018, Emma landed a big contract, revamping an outdated structure into a creative hub. She was over the moon, pulling all-nighters, attending sessions, sketching ideas. I remember her once pointing to the blueprints and saying, "You know, Alex, I'm finally creating something meaningful." I smiled. "You've always created meaningful things. You just don't always notice." She walked over and kissed my forehead. "That's why I adore you. You believe in me more than I do myself." That was our final ordinary exchange. The accident day is etched in my mind with eerie sharpness. I was at the office when the call came. The voice on the line was shaky. "Are you Alex Miller? This is Mercy General Hospital, your spouse. She's been in a crash." The world turned to static. When I rushed to the facility, a doctor with weary eyes greeted me. "She's alive," he stated right away. "But spinal injury, we're doing all we can." I recall standing in the hallway, hearing the raspy beeps of machines. In the room, she lay still, face pale, hair matted with blood. I grasped her hand. "Emma, I'm right here. It'll be okay, you hear me." She opened her eyes, tried to grin, but tears rolled down instead. "Alex, I can't feel my legs." That line carved itself into my brain like a blade. The weeks that followed were a dark spiral. Surgeries, therapy, doctors, bills. I dozed in the chair by her bedside. Every time staff said, "We need to discuss," I'd freeze. The verdict hit like a sentence: paraplegia. Permanent paralysis from the waist down. Emma stayed strong at first. "It's fine," she'd say. "I'm tough, we'll manage." But once discharged home, a new reality began. A reality without us. Just care routines, timetables, meds, diapers, physical sessions, endless tears, rage, guilt. And somewhere in there, me. I held on initially. I switched to remote work to stay close. Learned it all, proper lifting, assisting with baths, monitoring bed sores. I'd tell pals, yeah, it's tough, but I vowed to stand by her. And I meant it. But then nights arrived where I'd lie next to her and sense she wasn't Emma anymore, but someone in a separate realm. A realm of agony, embarrassment, frustration. She pulled away. At times, she'd yell at me for minor mistakes. Sometimes sob. Sometimes go silent for days. I knew it wasn't her fault. Yet month by month, I felt vitality draining from me. Still I stayed. Because not abandoning seemed the only thing keeping me human. The initial months post-discharge felt like mere survival. Not living, not healing, just daily battles. I sold our car since she couldn't use it anyway. Remodeled the apartment, handrails, ramp, adjustable bed, wheelchair. I did everything by the book. Yet it all crumbled. Emma became a different individual. Occasionally, I'd catch a glimpse of the old her, the one who joked, lit candles, and trusted in magic. But more often, it was something vacant, burdensome. "Alex," she said one day as I helped her dress, "you shouldn't have to do any of this." "Oh, what do you mean?" "All of it staying here, enduring this, me." I tried to lighten it. "Sorry, I'm not backing down." But she didn't smile. "You don't get it. I hate that you see me like this, that I'm a burden." Those words stung hard. I opened my mouth, but no words came. Friends faded away gradually. First, politely, "Don't want to intrude." Then they just stopped messaging. My mom visited every couple of weeks, brought meals, tried to cheer us up. But each time she left, Emma got irritable. "Your mom stared at me like a broken doll again." "Emma, she's just concerned." "No, it's just uncomfortable for her that I'm not the perfect daughter-in-law anymore." Sometimes I'd tire of arguing and just stay quiet. Silence became our communication. There were times I thought she was giving up, and times when I was. At night, sitting in quiet after her pain flares, I'd think, what if it had ended right there in the hospital? Would it have been kinder for her? Then I'd horrify myself with that. A year later, she started intensive rehab. I'd drive her to appointments, wait a couple hours in the car. Sometimes she'd return furious because progress stalled. "Why bother driving me if it's pointless?" she shouted once, hurling a cushion. "Because you have to keep trying." "Screw your have to." She cried. I approached, hugged her. She pushed at first, then went limp. "I just wish things were like before," she whispered. Me too, but I kept it unsaid. 2 years passed. I barely slept, worked from home, cared for her, cooked, cleaned, managed her prescriptions. I stopped being a spouse. I became a caregiver. Affection faded slowly, like a photo bleaching in light. Sometimes I'd recall how she used to call me, my bright star. Now I was a shadow. Emma started seeing a counselor. It was my idea. She resisted at first, then agreed. After months of sessions, she shifted a bit. Laughed again, did her makeup sometimes, even alone. And that's when I first spotted David. David volunteered at the rehab facility. Youthful, attentive, with that gentle assurance worn-out guys lose. He bantered with her, aided during exercises, brought coffee now and then. I saw her brighten around him. And swear I wasn't angry, not at first. Because for the first time in ages, she seemed alive. But then she'd linger longer at the center. Come back upbeat, eyes sparkling. David suggested fresh routines. He says I'm improving. I'd nod. "That's great, Emma, really." But deep down, something tightened. One day I arrived early to pick her up, entered the gym, and saw David holding her hands, laughing, while she gazed at him with an expression absent for years. Affection or its echo. He helped her into the chair, spotted me, and smiled. Alex, perfect timing, we just wrapped up. I smiled back. Emma looked away fast. In the car, she was quiet. Then said, "Don't start." "Start what?" "You saw, and now you'll imagine things." I stayed silent. "Alex," she murmured, "I just want to feel alive." Those words rang like a verdict. After that, everything chilled. She avoided my gaze. Spoke formally, like to an older sibling. I tried rekindling the spark, but it slipped away like grains of sand. Months later, I found the message. Not on purpose, I was hunting for a file on her laptop. Opened the chat app, it was brief. "You're the only one who sees me as more than disabled. I just crave someone nearby who doesn't pity me. I know it's wrong, but I can't quit." I shut the laptop. Sat there feeling no rage, no hurt, just void. That night, I said nothing. Made dinner, served it. She chatted about a show, the weather. And I just watched. The woman I'd given 6 years to, whom I'd cherished, supported, fed, dressed, shielded, and who now sought vitality with another. That night, sleep evaded me. Stared at the ceiling, pondering. What if I just leave? What's worse, staying and fading slowly, or departing and becoming a monster? I woke early, earlier than usual. Emma still slumbered, breathing softly, and for a second it seemed almost fine. Like all that happened was a nightmare. Like I was back in our old studio, mornings scented with tea and vanilla. But then I saw her phone on the nightstand, and it all flooded back. Those texts, her words, "You're the only one who sees me as more than disabled." That day, I went to the office for the first time in forever. Not out of need, but because I couldn't stay put. While at my desk, staring at the screen, one thought looped. I'm not mad, I'm just hollow. Coworker Emily approached and asked, "Everything all right?" I replied automatically, "Yeah, just worn out." Worn out, the term that defined my existence. That evening, driving home, I didn't rush for the first time in years. Caught myself going slow, almost hoping the road stretched forever. When I entered the house, she was in the living room. TV on, but her eyes elsewhere. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." Pause. Tension hung in the air. I knew if I said nothing now, I'd stay. Another month, year, lifetime. I breathed deep. "Emma, I saw your messages." She froze. Eyes widened. Silently turned off the TV. "You read them?" "Oh, yes." Quiet. I braced for excuses, tears, yells. But she just lowered her head. "I didn't want you finding out like that." "Then how, in a year?" "No, I just didn't know how to tell you." I stepped nearer. "Do you love him?" Long silence, then barely audible. "I'm not sure, I just feel vibrant around him." That pierced like a needle. I shut my eyes to hold steady. "And me, am I still in your world?" "Of course you." "No, don't say of course. You've been gone from me for ages." She sniffled. "Alex, I didn't mean to hurt you. You've done everything for me, but I'm tired of being someone's cause. I want to be seen, as a woman, not a patient." I nodded, understood, and right then realized I couldn't anymore. I grabbed a suitcase. Packed essentials, not everything. She watched in silence. "Where to?" "Not sure, just not here." "Alex, please don't." "Emma, I already have." "But you vowed in sickness and in health." "Yes, and I honored it for 6 years." She wept. I stood at the door, feeling inner fractures. I'm not leaving because I don't care. I'm leaving because I can't breathe anymore. I drove off at night. No tunes, no talk. Just cruised the empty highway until I numbed my limbs. Pulled over and for the first time screamed. Loud, aching into the void. Not from anger, but helplessness. The following weeks blurred. I rented a small flat, worked 14 hours daily. Sipped tea, slept 4 hours. Tried not thinking. But thoughts intruded. What if she fell? What if she's hurting? What if she despises me? I wanted to text, call, check. But couldn't. Because I knew hearing her voice would pull me back. One day, her sister called. Alex, I don't know what happened, but Emma's empty. She says it's over. I wanted to clarify, but couldn't. How to explain that leaving isn't betrayal, but rescue. Just not for everyone. A month went by. I visited unannounced. She opened the door, thinner, pale, but alert. David stood behind. He eyed me with mild apprehension. Hi, I said. Alex, why are you here? Just checking you're okay. She nodded. Thanks. I glanced at David. He held her hand. And then I knew my spot was taken. I stepped outside, got in the car, and for the first time in ages felt pain, raw, real. I'm not bitter, not resentful, just weary of playing hero in someone else's drama. That night I posted on Reddit. Title: AITA for walking away from my disabled spouse after 6 years of support. To my shock, thousands responded. Some said, you did all you could. Others, you're a monster, love doesn't quit. But one stuck forever. Sometimes love isn't staying. Sometimes it's releasing someone who no longer finds light in you. I don't know if I'm the villain. Maybe we're both casualties. I go to bed nightly with the same query. What if I'd lingered a bit longer? No answer. Just quiet. And a faint vanilla scent I still sense, like from another realm. Nearly 4 months since I left. And only now do I see how my life shifted. No more minute-by-minute morning rituals. No med schedules, no doctor calls. Just silence. So profound, sometimes I flip on the radio to stay sane. I figured freedom would feel liberating. But actually, it reeked of emptiness. At work, I became regular again. Colleagues invited me to lunches. I even started bantering. One day, Emily said, "Glad you're back to life, Alex." I smiled, but inside, nothing. Because alive isn't joyful. Sometimes I'd catch odd habits. Wake at night and reach to check breathing beside me. Cook dinner for 2, eat solo. Buy her favorite coffee. Then realize and toss it. One evening, I reopened Reddit and reread my thread. Comments swelled, nearly 6,000. Some, you saved yourself. She's an adult, not your duty. Others, you abandoned someone vulnerable. Worst thing possible. I read, unable to decide, who am I? Victim, traitor, mere mortal. A week later, a letter arrived. Actual paper 1. No return address. Envelope with just my name in neat script. I knew the sender. Hands shook opening it. Inside 5 pages. Alex, if you're reading this, thanks for not erasing me entirely. I pondered long whether to write. But you deserve the truth. At first I was furious. I yelled that you ditched me, that you're selfish. Then I realized you were the last holding my world intact. I just overlooked your struggle. David, he's different. Kind, but he doesn't grasp being there when pain hits every dawn. He can't stay silent when I stumble. He doesn't know how to grip my hand when fear strikes. You did. I'm not writing to reel you back. Just to say thank you. You were my pillar, even when I called you a shadow. You deserve real joy, Alex. Emma. I reread it dozens of times. Each pass a fresh lump in my throat. No apologies. No pleas. Just plain honesty. And in that honesty, more affection than all our years combined. Days later, I drove to the garden we used to visit weekends. Fall was just starting. Leaves drifted down slowly, as if the world softened on purpose. I sat on a bench, pulled out the letter, pressed it to my lips. Farewell, Emma. Said it inwardly, not aloud. And for the first time in forever, let go. Later I resumed writing, not for Reddit but myself. About how love isn't just together, but also letting depart. That sometimes leaving isn't escape, but honesty. To yourself, to the one you can't rescue anymore. Half a year on, another letter from her sister. Emma passed. Complications, suddenly. I sat in the car, clutching the envelope, unable to cry or breathe. The note was brief. She often said you were her home, even after you left. I drove to the ocean, placed her letter in a bottle, tossed it into the waves. Currents carried it away, as if to peace. And then I understood, I'm not a monster. Just a person who couldn't live another's suffering anymore. AITA. Perhaps. But if loving means self-destruction, then maybe guilty isn't so terrible sometimes. 8 years have gone by. 8 years since holding that letter. 8 years after releasing the woman who once called me her everything. Now I reside in a quaint seaside village. Teach English literature. Life is serene, structured. No one here knows my past, only my present. On the windowsill shelf sits a carved wooden box. Inside, letters. Her handwriting precise with a slight slant. Sometimes I pull one out, read a few lines. Not from longing. From gratitude. Folks often claim time heals. But really, it just teaches living with the unhealed. A year ago, I met Sophia. She aids kids who have endured trauma. When I first shared my story, she was silent long, then said, "You didn't abandon her, Alex. You just stopped perishing with her daily." Those words lingered. Sometimes pupils ask, "Professor, why do you stress that empathy isn't always kind?" And I reply, because sometimes empathy becomes a prison. A debt no one asked you to shoulder. And if you don't break free, it burns not just your life, but the one you're trying to save. Recently, I penned a short story about a man who carried another's pain half his days. How hard to separate love from suffering's habit. Submitted to a publisher. Editor said, "Too somber, readers crave happy endings." I smiled, because this is a happy ending. Not flawless, but true. Last night I stood by the shore. The sea was placid. Sun dipping, sky tinted in amber-crimson hues. I mused how oddly life works. Sometimes, to truly grasp love's meaning, you must endure its unraveling. I closed my eyes and imagined Emma somewhere. Not in the form that imprisoned her, but in that very garden under autumn foliage. Where she once laughed so genuinely, the world seemed to pause. I smiled, because for the first time in years, no guilt. Just tranquility. AITA. Probably still yes for some. But for me, I'm just a man who learned to pick life.